Hey everybody, it's Aluna Michaels, Esoteric Astrologer. Going to be talking to you about the events of June 2020. Today is June 5th and we are having a full moon today and it is an eclipse. Yay! And this eclipse is being squared by the planet Mars. So we're going to talk about that first. Now the interesting thing about a full moon eclipse is if you go back roughly 18 months, I think it makes this 19 months, but there was a new moon in December of 2018 that was roughly the same degree. It was a new moon in Sagittarius. So if you think about, you can do a little brainstorming about what happened in December of 2018, and now here we are about a year and a half later, and we're having this full moon, which is the conclusion or some sort of culmination and result of whatever started at that time. And because now the eclipse is, the sun is in Gemini and the moon is in Sagittarius. So one of the things about Gemini and Sagittarius are they're very ideas and I mean, Sagittarius definitely can be about actions on your ideas, but sometimes Sagittarius can be armchair philosophers. So Gemini, talk, and Sagittarius can be like, yeah, talk, blah, 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 you know. But that planet Mars, which happens to be in Pisces right now, is exactly squaring that new full moon, saying, okay, you've worked for all of this, and what are you going to do about it? It's kind of like if you work really hard on a degree, and then you say the new moon could be, I'm getting the degree, and then the full moon is, I graduated. But then Mars says, let's get a job and let's do something. You can't just hang it on your wall. You need to do something with it to feel extra fulfilled. So the motivation that we have now with that Mars is really good. At the time, it can feel a little bit irritating. Full moons can be a little emotional. Mars can be kind of aggressive. So that can be a little bit of a sense of just temporary, like, frustration or tension, but it can also be a sense of motivation, like because of that Gemini Sagittarius piece. And I'm also going to pair this with Venus having gone retrograde in Gemini, which is like, what do I really want? I want to speak up about what I want. I want to listen to my heart, with the Gemini listening and talking about my desires, Venus. Well, with that eclipse being Gemini and Sagittarius, there's something about that too, that the sun wants to shine something, Gemini, and the desire nature also being the moon, about your deepest needs. It's a similar idea about speaking up about what you want. Mars gives you that boldness about even just admitting it to yourself, what you want, how you want to push yourself more to overcome things in yourself, or confront certain people if it needs to be that, or taking a step and looking for a new job, telling someone you love them or something, where it's like you're stepping out from your comfort zone. But it can also be but listening to yourself, listening to what your heart's saying, and how can I make steps in that direction? So in that way, the Mars temporarily feels a little irritating, but it's launching you somehow. And don't worry if you don't remember what happened in December of 2018. Don't worry about it. But just whatever you're feeling like it's time to do something, that's really a great thing, having this Mars squaring the eclipse. What's interesting as Mars keeps progressing throughout June is it's going to make a very nice angle called a sextile. It's a 60-degree angle from Mars to Jupiter and Pluto. So Jupiter and Pluto are in Capricorn. They happen to be going backwards, not a big deal, but they're kind of joining forces throughout the second half of June. And there's a lot of passionate energy around all of that. So Jupiter is very conceptual. It's connected with Sagittarius. And Pluto is the power to get things done. So it's like the power of the truth, and believing you can make a difference in your life, believing you could live your biggest dream, can be Jupiter, Pluto. And the Mars is able to give you little steps to take, little actions to make that big picture really happen. Because Mars is in Pisces right now, meditation also always helps us get in touch with our deepest desire and our intuition. But it could really be kind of like it could be through meditation or just having a hunch of like, maybe I should try doing that. Maybe I should Google this and, oh, wow, there's an answer there or an avenue for me or something. So listening to that little still voice or a little, could be part of that Mars in Pisces. But then making sure, because there is this small thing when I was talking about the full moon being in and the eclipse being with the moon in Sagittarius, and then with Jupiter and Pluto, there's something linked in with that Jupiter and Sagittarius that can sometimes be like, well, the big idea was enough, And it's like, no, you got to take the action. So it's kind of cool to me that the Mars is there giving a nudge at the eclipse, and it's also nudging that Jupiter-Pluto. Like, what step can I take to move it? Doesn't have to be, conquering the whole thing in a day, but just getting it in motion, gently moving it in motion. That's going to be something throughout the month of June. When I mentioned the Venus retrograde, that happened last month. We talked about that. It goes forward this month on the 26th, 24th of June. And so that's just kind of nice because that can be a time that you are, again, see, it's a little complicated because Mercury's going to be going retrograde this month. Not that that's the worst thing in the world, I always say. But making sure you're very tuned in to what you truly, truly want, because that Venus moving direct is like, yes, I want this. And then there's something about that Mercury retrograde that you could get talked out of the thing that's best for you, or your inner voice could say, oh, you don't do that or something. But making sure you're constantly being true to yourself, even with that Venus going forward and saying like, kind of when the planets are retrograde and then go forward, the going forward is like you sort of went internal or dug within yourself and you're like, haha, or you dive deep in the ocean for the shell, and it's like, yes, you come up to the surface. And so keeping that yes feeling, even if the Mercury's like, you sure? It's like, yes, I'm sure, but not letting yourself get talked out of your actions and your direction that's come up from this time period. Now, an interesting thing about the Mercury retrograde, I'm going to give you the dates to that. Mercury turns retrograde in the sign of Cancer on the 18th, and it's going to stay retrograde until like July 5th. With Mercury in Cancer, what's interesting about that is one of the things is a lot of people have been talking to me that they've been having trouble with food or eating habits and stuff during the quarantine. So the Mercury going retrograde in Cancer can be, okay, like what really nurtures my body? What kind of foods truly do and which one don't? So it's not like I'm going on a diet or I'll never eat this again, but really pondering about what's nurturing to me. That could even be about, Cancer's a lot about habits, and especially habits in the home. So about going to sleep or waking up, or if you feel that you've been working from home and it's kind of like a vague schedule, a Mercury retrograde can actually help you say, what makes me feel centered? What kind of ritual would be loving yet effective to be eating well, sleeping well, taking care of my needs, and also kind of going about a daily structure for work can be part of Cancer. Also, it can be correcting things with family if you're quarantined with people, and just kind of working that kind of stuff out if there's frustrations together about how you can be a harmonious family unit, or if you've been separated from people, to be able, hopefully by the time we get into late June, we're able to connect more with others and make plans to visit family or loved ones. Cancer doesn't have to be your actual birth family or married type family. It can be people that you love, and that's the sign of Cancer as well. So Mercury can just be reconnecting with those people. But a lot of people have been telling me about the eating, so I want to really mention that with that Mercury retrograde. Okay, so let's see. I do want to mention this. I'll probably talk more about it in July. But the planet, I'm talking about Mars being in Pisces this month and being very motivating because it's connecting with those other planets, with Jupiter and Pluto. But Mars in Pisces is really dreamy and really visionary. And then, after Pisces comes Aries. And Aries is so much about taking action. It's like, Mars itself is linked to Aries, so Mars is always about action. But when Mars goes into Aries, that's a real good go, go, go for it time, Mars will go into Aries the last few days of June. And usually Mars is in a sign for 2 months, the way it clips along. It has a 2-year orbit, so we get 12 signs, and it usually does 2 months per sign, roughly. But we're going to have Mars turn retrograde. It's not going to be till September, but Mars is going to end up being in Aries from the end of June to like the middle of January, which is awesome for just being really motivated. And so taking part of this month while Mars is in Pisces, which is like, what do I want to do? Or what is my dream? And if I could do anything without a limit, what would it be? And that also is strengthened by that Mars connecting with the Jupiter, and Pluto is like the big dream. And then being able to see there's a way to live that dream, whether it's a better job, a certain way you want to be feeling inside yourself, overcoming stuff, whatever. With that Mars then going into Aries, you've dreamt the dream, and you wake up and like hit the ground running kind of a thing. So don't be afraid to dream really big and see what is possible, what could be possible. And it'd be very interesting to get used to taking those actions, just even small actions every day, building up, building up, building up, and keeping motivated toward the goal, which the Mars moving into Aries will be really helpful for a lot of people. So whoopsies, sorry about that. Let's see. Another thing to mention about that Mercury retrograde is it's making a really great angle to the planet Uranus, a 60-degree angle, a sextile. And because Uranus is kind of like the genius mind, and any time where Uranus and Mercury work close together, Mercury's our day-to-day thinking, kind of like our basic mind, and Uranus is like the genius, like Eureka kind of mind. So any type of meditation, any type of even reading, inspirational kind of reading, thinking about, I'm very into like neuroscience and quantum physics kind of idea about what else is possible for me. And there's something about expanding your mind. Like a lot of the month, like I'm kind of repeating the same theme, is about bigger, bigger, bigger ideas, and allowing yourself to believe big ideas are possible, and just knowing that you can believe it and sort of percolate in that or marinate in that kind of belief, and waiting for the little directions to make it happen. But just even like having a practice in the morning where you're like, what's possible for me? Or, getting into affirmations that are expansive, or reading about people that have really made it big in their own way, of whatever that is, if it's financially or relationship or personal growth, like being inspired by people who've overcome a lot of stuff and just think, wow, anything's possible. Just kind of staying in that mindset, and then looking for the signs to take the little steps that make it possible. So that's a big theme of June. Okay, so if you're interested in a session with me, please contact me at alunamichaels.com, or 248-583-1663 is my cell phone. You can text to that, set up a session that way too. Also have my book on Amazon, The Spiritual Gifts of the 12 Astrological Signs, if you want to read about your sign and little spiritual activities to do for each sign. And hope you're staying balanced and sane. And I think this is a nice month of feeling we've been sort of scrunched in, and dreaming big, and reconnecting with our greater possibilities and the world beyond whatever is going on right now. There's a life beyond all of this, and how are we going to make that, and who are we going to be as we are emerging out of all of this quarantine stuff. So I think June is really helping us with that process. So hang in there, and hope to see you soon, and bye-bye for now.